The Verdict with World Pool.
Hi everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict, and we're just going to go to two racecourses this week. We will be at Kempton and Haydock on Saturday, both staged excellent cards, and there was some very interesting race IQ data produced by a number of the winners that we will concentrate on in the next half hour. We start at Kempton Park, and here are the winning times and all of the winners from Saturday afternoon. Giavellotto got the better of Kalpana in the opening contest. Sky Safari won the second. Just Call Me Angel in the third. Five Ways took the Cyrenia Stakes, the 3:10. Drama in a fast time won the 3:45 Caprello. And Siempre Arturo completed the winners on the card, where Oisin Murphy completed a 4-timer. Furlong per furlong, the best time on the card was put up by Giavellotto. We'll have a look at him. We'll have a look at Five Ways after we've seen the Race IQ time index for Kempton on Saturday afternoon. The going described as standard to slow. I think that's about right. The average time index on the day was 5.4. We concentrate on Giavellotto, who produced a pretty good time actually, 6.5, despite the race being quite steadily run for the first 3 furlongs. And we'll concentrate on the race right now. Let's go to the start then of this September Stakes. It's a Group 3, let me remind you, and it's over 1.5 miles. And it's dubbed, really, as far as Kalpana is concerned, as a trial for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Stall 3 for Giavellotto, then Kalpana from 6. Meydan was third from stall number 4. Kalpana broke smartly out of the gates, was quite quickly into stride. 2.58 seconds it took her, whereas Giavellotto a bit slower, 2.85 seconds. But they were first and second to get to 20 miles an hour in the race. And it's a bit of a crawl, you can tell that visually, can't you? It's a dawdle early on. They're going through the first 3 furlongs, which are rated as slow or very slow, as against the Race IQ par. There's a pacemaker in there, Satavia, and Satavia took them through in 13.71, that's slow, 13.16, that's very slow, and then a 12.71. And after those first 3 furlongs, when they established the positions they wanted to be in, it settled down a little bit as far as the gallop was concerned. The next 2 furlongs were rated as par, and then they quickened up down the back a little bit. The 6th and the 7th furlong, they went pretty quick. For example, the winner went 12.12 and 12.35. That's through furlong 6 and furlong 7. So the pace increased markedly. You can see that now. They've just picked up going down the back through that 6th and 7th furlong. And then they were even until the home straight, and then it turned into a little bit of a 2-furlong dash thereafter, because we've got finishing speed percentage, which is quite high, really. Winner 108.62%. The par 105.91, and all bar the pacemaker able to come home better than the par FSP. So they have come home strongly. They finished off really well, and it's not been a furious gallop. They've clearly been able to save a little bit of petrol for this fast finish. And the final 3 furlongs are very interesting. 34.8 for Giavellotto, 34.84 for Kalpana. They're just about to pick the pace up now. Giavellotto giving a lead to Meydan and Kalpana as they turn in. And this is where the race really begins to develop. They're going to start really sprinting from this point. There's Giavellotto. Kalpana well placed to come and challenge towards the outside under Colin Keane. And the winner here goes 11.84 and 11.15. Kalpana in that furlong does 11.14, so she's just 100th of a second quicker through the penultimate furlong, and then she fades to nothing in the final furlong. Kalpana, that 11.14 in the penultimate, and then she gets very tired, 12.09 her final furlong, whereas Giavellotto was 11.81. He was much quicker than her through the final furlong. And I would suggest that the data is telling us that she came there going well, she quickened well, she was quicker than Giavellotto in the penultimate furlong, and she blew up. She's here off a layoff. I think she needed this, and I think the final furlong data suggests that. She was not helped by what happened in the home straight. Look at Giavellotto, he's all over the place. Right-hand drive from Oisin Murphy gives Kalpana a bump. Oisin definitely switches his whip, but Giavellotto now wants to go away from the whip again and into Kalpana once more. Now, that's not done her any favours. I'm not suggesting that she'd have won if that interference hadn't happened. She wouldn't have done. But nonetheless, she did receive a bit of interference in the home straight. Giavellotto is a very talented racehorse. He's unbeaten in 3 starts on a synthetic surface now. And the reason for that is that he's got loads of speed. When he gets decent ground, that's what he wants, or an all-weather surface. He's got a real good change of gear. Kalpana has as well, but she couldn't live with him through the final furlong as she got a little bit tired late on. The Arc de Triomphe is possible for that fella coming back in, Giavellotto, but he wouldn't want soft ground, and one would imagine that it'll be a trip back to Hong Kong where he won last year, and suspects that's where they will go with him, where he will encounter decent ground. As for Kalpana, she's got 2 options, maybe the Arc, or maybe in October she could go back for the fillies and mares at the big Kipco meeting. That's possible, and that was mooted by Andrew Balding afterwards. So they've got a decision to make as far as she's concerned. But as far as the data is concerned, she got tired in that final furlong. She was really tired. She was very slow at 12.09. Even Meydan was quicker than her through the final furlong. I think she blew up and got really tired. Here's a summary of the data then. All those finishing speed percentages quite high. They finished off pretty quickly. There's that fast furlong from Kalpana, her fastest, 11.14, quicker than Giavellotto, albeit only just. That's the penultimate furlong before she got tired. So I think I'd be positive about Kalpana if I was part of the Balding team, and they'll be delighted with Giavellotto because he's just as good as he ever was. From the September Stakes, let's go and have a look at the 2-year-olds in the Cyrenia Stakes. Let's remind you of the time index that was achieved in this particular contest. That was the 4th race on the card, over 6 furlongs. It was won by 5 ways, and he got a time index, which was okay, 4.6. The meeting average was 5.4. So you'd like him to have been a little bit better than that. But nonetheless, it was a tough performance from him out in front, making every yard of the running for the Andrew Balding team. And he's a pretty nice 2-year-old. He's certainly, I think, a nice sprinter in the making. This is why. Let's have a look at it and see what he achieved out there. He came from stall number 6 and he beat Rogue Supremacy from 1, and Sirius A came from stall number 10. Now, he featured on the Verdict 5 ways when he won at Salisbury last time, where he had a really wide draw. He used up loads of speed to get across from his wide draw, and he still had reserves left in the closing stages despite going pretty keenly and using up a lot of energy in the early part of the race. He does the same here. He goes quite keenly. He gets across from stall 6 and he makes the running and dominates this contest. He was fastest at 20 miles an hour, 2.32 seconds. And once again, as he did at Salisbury, he's able to just maintain his speed and just keep going. He had to work much harder here than he did at Salisbury. This is a significant step up in grade to a Group 3 contest, and he took them basically through even fractions. The 3rd furlong, 11.8 is par, the 4th, 11.65 is par, the 5th, 11.29 is par, and the last 12 seconds, that's par as well. So he's just running evenly. There's that 5th furlong of 11.29. That's his fastest in the race, where he's really picking up, and he's being challenged by Rogue Supremacy and Sirius A, but he digs really deep, and I like the way that he keeps finding, despite the fact that he's used up energy again in the early part of the race. And if anything, he battles back. He might have been briefly headed, but he finds loads. He drifts to his left a little bit in the home straight, but he's a nice sprinting 2-year-old. Overall, I think the time analysis must be that that's just a par time, really. It's no better than that. But he's a likeable individual, and I just think, although he might struggle against top 2-year-olds, for example, perhaps in the Mill Reef, he might make into a really nice sprinter next season. He goes with loads of zest. He's always quick out of the stalls generally, and he's got loads of early speed. He did hang to his left here. He wanted to go towards the stand side. That didn't necessarily help him much, but he was still able to win. He got pretty tired in that final furlong of 12 seconds with the runner-up quicker at 11.88, but yet his attitude got him home. So I think he's quite a nice horse going forward. His finishing speed percentage was almost bang on what you'd expect over this trip for this class of race at Kempton. It's 104.92, just slightly above the par. So he's been rated well out in front 5 ways, and he's done it in good style. He's a big, strong individual who looks like a sprinter to follow. Just a little bit worrying that he did drift to his left. That man on board, Jason Watson's having a great time of it at the moment. He's riding with loads of confidence, and he judged that to perfection. That's what the data tells us, that he was able to carve out par sectionals throughout that race, and that enabled him to hang on. And there they are. the colour brown for 5 ways for 4 of the 6 furlongs. He was quick out of the gate, so he was fast through the first furlong. Then Jason took a hold of him and he was just a little bit slower than par at 11.73. And then look, he gradually wound it up, 11.8, 11.65, 11.29. Gradual increase of pace through the race, and he had enough left, therefore, to hang on. From Rogue Supremacy, he was a shade quicker in the final furlong. There was a supercard at Haydock on Saturday. It was Betfair Sprint Day, of course, but the supporting card was excellent. Here are the winners from it. Zeus Olympios, we'll have a look at him. Look at that, 1.6 under the Racing Post standard on a day when the times were very fast. We'll have a look at Bo Echo as well, took the 150, and Valiancy, who took the 225. The Reverend, he won a steadily run 3 o'clock contest. Big Mojo, of course we'll look at him, the Betfair Sprint winner, and he was 2 seconds under the Racing Post standard. Lots of those times dipping under standard, and that's because the ground was quicker than described. Let's have a look at the Race IQ Time Index, and this is the clue to how quick it was riding. It was described as being good, so these time indexes are based on good ground, races over these trips on good ground, and they're very high indeed. In fact, we've got a 10 for the second last contest, the 440, won by Special Gayath. 9.8, 9.9, and 9.9, and 9.7 at the top of the card as well. So what we're dealing with here is ground that was good to firm, at least, maybe on the firm side, and horses were really letting themselves down, and therefore the average is 9 for the whole meeting. You rarely see an average that high, and that's because it was a bit quicker than it was advertised, and it was quicker towards the stand side as well. And Raps, to the clerk of the course, was interviewed by Niall Hannity on the day, and he said that there was a bit of a bias and it was quicker towards the stands rail, and he proved absolutely spot on when it came to the Betfair Sprint Cup. Okay, let's take a look at the first race on the card. It was Zeus Olympios, who remains unbeaten after this success. Stall 5 beats Excellent Believe from stall 3, and Check and Challenge came from stall number 10. He's a good yardstick, Check and Challenge. He always tends to run well in this sort of grade. What sort of grade are we dealing with? Well, we're dealing with a Group 3. It's the Superior Mile. He's quite quickly into stride, Zeus Olympios, in the white cap, yellow colours, big white nose and white socks, 2.44 seconds to get to 20 miles an hour. So he jumped keenly, but then he's reined back into 4th spot as they rattled along early. Look at his 3rd furlong, and he's in 4th spot. To maintain his position, he had to go a very fast 10.52. There was no messing around here. They rattled along in the early part of this contest, the pace very strong indeed, and then they just took a pull as they came round the bend and filled up. So if he's done 10.52 coming round the bend, he went 12.72, so he's able to just get a breather there and fill the tank before going again in the home straight. The leader was Snowmaster. He's just overdone it just a little bit in front. Here comes Zeus Olympios. Now look at the way he moves. There is no knee curl there at all, those big white socks. He really wants fast ground, and he got what he wanted. He's able to do a 10.74 through furlong 6, and that just about gets him to the front. And he backs it up because he does an 11.14 after that. That's a par sectional. Other horses not coping with this strong gallop around him. And then he finds plenty in the closing stages. His last furlong is rated as fast against the Race IQ par of 11.78. The runner running 12, the third running 11.82. And he's going away at the finish. He's finished off really strongly for a finishing speed percentage of 106.01. So he's just over 5% quicker in the final 2 furlongs than he was in the rest of the race. He's filling the tank, turning in, did the trick for him, and then he was able to go again off what was a very strong early gallop. He remains unbeaten in 3 starts. Another step up in grade beckons, I think, for Zeus Olympios. And here is the data courtesy of Race IQ. You can see that the first 2 home were the 2 fastest to 20 miles an hour out of the gates. He reached a top speed of 41.58. One horse was quicker than him. That was Check and Challenge. He managed to do 41.62 at one point during the 6th furlong. But importantly, they did a very fast furlong early on of 10.52, 10.8 for the runner-up, 10.67 for the third, courtesy of that very strong early gallop. OK, let's turn our attentions to the Betfair Ascendant Stakes now. Listed race for 2-year-olds over a mile. A race that didn't garner a very good time index given what happened on the day. 6.9 for Bo Echo, who wins this for the George Bowie team. That was the worst time index of the day, i.e. the slowest time on the card. But there's a reason for that, a good reason for it, and we'll have a look at the race now and see what was actually achieved by these runners. Bo Echo from 2 beats Publish from 8, and Cheyenne from stall number 4 was back in 3rd spot. It's interesting tactically, this race. The winner, just towards the rail or against the rail, was slowly away, 2.98 seconds, 7th fastest to 20 miles an hour, but was then sent forward, and Publish was taken back. And that is crucial because that race is steadily run, and Publish is compromised. Look there, he's taken right back by William Buick, and they are crawling along. And you can see from the finishing speed percentage of 111.78 for Bo Echo that they've crawled and then rattled home through the final couple of furlongs. It's a very slowly run race with a fast finish. The par of FSP being 101.66. They're way, way over that. Indeed, every single runner was over 107%. They were all finishing strongly. And what we have to do is we have to credit Bo Echo with quickening up really well. But we've got to give a sectional upgrade to Publish. He's in a poor position when they begin to sprint, and they sprint from 3 out. And he makes up tremendous headway from the back of the field, sprinting to the front, and then he runs out of gas in the final furlong. And he's shaped like the best horse in the race, and he definitely needs upgrading. Having said that, Bo Echo is clearly a very nice individual. Look at this, 7th furlong, 10.69 Publish, 10.81 Bo Echo. That's the penultimate furlong. Publish quicker than Bo Echo, running him down, getting to him, and heading him briefly for a stride or two. But then that big effort takes its toll. He's going to win there, surely, Publish. But no, because he's had to run from the back of the field. He's used up his petrol. Bo Echo has more in the closing stages. 11.44 final furlong for Bo Echo. Publish 11.69. That was crucial. Publish couldn't quite go on, having surged from the back of the field. He went 10.81, 10.69. They were both quicker than Bo Echo. That got him to the front, and then he got tired. You can tell he's getting tired because he's wandering around, drifting to his left. He's all over the place inside that final 100 yards, whereas Bo Echo's really straight and true and remains unbeaten. He was very impressive at Newbury when he won last time. He's impressive here. He's very talented, and so is Publish. Don't give up on him just yet. Right, this is the data. Tells you everything you need to know. Look at that, very slow through the early part of the race. They were crawling along, 13.35, 12.65 for the winner through furlongs 4 and 5. You can throw in a 12.33 there as well for the second furlong. And then suddenly, where the graph goes green, you can see where they quickened up. And the first 4 home, the final 2 furlongs were rated as very fast against par. But look at Publish, you know, furlong 6 quicker than the winner, furlong 7 quicker than the winner, and then just getting tired in that final furlong. Both have legitimate claims for the 2,000 guineas next year. Okay, we're going to have a look at the handicap now. William Haggas has got his horses in tremendous form, and I wanted to highlight the performance of Valiancy, who took the 225 contest, a race IQ index of 8.5, so a pretty good time. He was 3.53 seconds under the race IQ par to garner that really good time index. Let's have a look at this performance from Valiancy, who's sporting cheek pieces for the first time under Saffie Osborne from 9. Ride the Thunder from 10, Fantasy World from stall 11. Outside stalls have it, but that doesn't really play a part. Valiancy held up, just gets squeezed a little bit in the early part of the race, and then dropped out by Saffie Osborne. 8th fastest to 20 miles an hour. It took him 2.85 seconds, and he's dropped in, and at times just behind the bridle a little bit. This is how he has raced in the past, and that's why they put the cheek pieces on him. And he shapes here like a stayer to follow. I think he's probably going to want further than this 1 3/4, and that'll bring about even more improvement in him. But this is a better effort from him in those cheek pieces. And I wanted it to appear in the verdict because this is not a strongly run race. They've gone quite steady for 7 furlongs here, and then they've gradually picked up the pace thereafter. And therefore, he's in a pretty poor spot positionally. He's quite a long way back, and that's not necessarily that's where Saffie Osborne wants to be either, because he's just a bit on and off the bridle. She's just at him a little bit, but he sure rattles home and comes home really strongly. And this is a good performance because he goes past horses who are not stopping in front of him. You can tell that from the finishing speed percentage. He's got 110.56, which is above the par, well above the par. But the others in front, 108.7 for the runner-up, 105.5 the third, 107.06 for the fourth. So what I'm saying is he's going to go and catch horses who are not stopping. He's going to catch horses who've got first go at this in front of him, and he's going to run them down and win a shade cosily in the end. So you really do have to mark up this performance. He's way better than his rivals through the final 3 furlongs of 34.68. The runner-up couldn't get under 35 seconds, and the third couldn't get under 36 seconds. So he's way, way better, way quicker than them through the final 3 furlongs. Those first 7 furlongs, I'll give you an example of how steady they were going. Valency in the 6th furlong ran 12.83. The 7th furlong he went 12.95, and then a 12.58 through the 10th furlong. So they weren't rattling along on the front end, yet he's able to run them down. And another point to make as well is that he does it on the far side of the track, and when maybe it was slightly better to be towards the stand side. So upgrade him a little bit for that as well. 11.37 then through the 11th furlong to get rolling on the far side, red cap. 11.07 through the 12th furlong, rated as very fast. He's still got 2 furlongs to go after that though, and this is where he's impressive really. He does an 11.38 after that 11.07, and that surges into the front. And he's come from a long way back. He was fully 10, 11, 12 lengths behind the pace setters at one point. And he's run on really well with a 12.23 final furlong to see off Ride the Thunder, who's run a perfectly respectable race in second spot. But watch Saffie Osborne's body language late on. She's not doing a right lot on him. I think he only does what he's asked to do, and he was set a bit of a task there, and he's come home very strongly indeed. And I think he's a stayer to follow going forward. I'd like to see him at 2 miles, but he's sure to be well placed by William Haggis. And well done to Saffie Osborne. It wasn't the easiest of rides, but she got the best out of Valiancy. Okay, there's his finishing speed percentage. He's quick, isn't he? 110.56. That's fast through the final 3 furlongs, which were way better than any of his rivals. And not one single horse in the race was able to get above 40 miles an hour, bar him. 40.62 he reached when he did that 11.07, that very fast furlong. So yes, he probably is a stayer who wants further, but remember, keep in the back of your mind that he's got a bit of speed. He can run 11.07 and he can get over 40 miles an hour. Stayer with speed, that's a decent combination. Feature event time, the Betfair Sprint Cup. We were hoping for one horse to rise to the top of the sprinting division. Not sure it necessarily happened, but we got a horse who produced a good time index in Big Mojo, 9.9 for the 5th contest on the card. The average on the day was 9, and it produced a very good time figure as far as time form were concerned. So in its own right, it was a nice performance from the Big Mojo. He was definitely suited by 6 furlongs. His last run had been at Goodwood over 5. 6 really suited him. Here we go. He'll come from stall 15. This is really relevant. The 2nd comes from 19. The 3rd, Flora of Bermuda, comes from 16. The 4th, Range of Bambi, comes from 13. The 5th, Lazart, from 10. The horse that did best in the low draws is Inisherin from stall number 6. He did pretty well. Kevin Ryan's got his horses in good form. That was a better run from Inisherin. But Big Mojo, with the benefit of the far side, where we think the ground was slightly quicker, has broken fastest in this sprint, 2.23 seconds to 20 miles an hour. And he's just rolled along. He's just shown sustained speed throughout the race. He's just kept going against the rail. And those marooned out in the middle couldn't live with him. They weren't on the best part of the track, to be fair. And his main challengers came stand side as well. But it'd be wrong to put this down completely to a massive draw bias, because he's shown loads of speed, as evidence there. The 5th furlong, 10.64 seconds, rated as fast, so he's finishing off quite strongly. And his final furlong was rated as fast as well, 11.65 seconds. The only other horse to finish as well as that was Flora of Bermuda in 3rd, who did exactly the same sectional for the final furlong, but couldn't catch Big Mojo, who is he's a really nice sprinter. He won the Malcolm as a 2-year-old. And he has won at Ascot. He won a Commonwealth Cup trial there as well. And 6 furlongs really suits him. He ran very well in the July Cup. And this is a big effort from him. There were some disappointments. Lazar was marooned out in the middle from stall 10. He was a little bit disappointing. He didn't finish off as well as perhaps you thought he would have done on this ground. Maybe it was a bit too quick for him on the day. I suspect it was just the fact he raced down the middle that was the problem for him. So we're none the wiser really about the sprinting division. They're sharing the spoils around, certainly over 6 furlongs they are. But this was Big Mojo's day for the Mick Appleby team. And his finishing speed percentage of 102.43 is almost, well, it's pretty close to par. So he's been rated really nicely by William Buick, who's perhaps a bit frustrated by what happened on Publish, but he wouldn't have been frustrated by this. This horse gave him absolutely everything, jumped smartly and made just about every yard of the running against that stands rail. So let's sum it up with the Race IQ data. You can see that he's against par. He's come home pretty strongly with that 10.64 and 11.65 closing furlongs, and Flora of Bermuda's done the same, 10.73 and then that 11.65. Flora of Bermuda really finishing off pretty strongly, and 102.29 finishing speed percentage, 102.43 for Big Mojo, who literally showed loads of speed on the stands rail. He had the benefit of that high draw and he made the most of it. The Whirlpool race of the week was in Germany at Baden-Baden on Sunday afternoon. It was the Großer Preis von Baden. It was a Group 1 and it was over 1.5 miles. We'll pick them up around about the halfway mark with Goliath in front. Now, Goliath had a slightly disappointing season thus far, but everything went his way here. He went straight to the front when these stalls opened under Clément Lecouve, and he made every yard of the running. It was a steady gallop in the early part of the race. They began to wind it up now, getting up to 60 kilometres an hour once they turned in. They'd been a lot slower down the back, and Goliath able to save energy on the front end and then sprint in the home straight. He's got up to just over 61 kilometres an hour now as they head towards the stand side. He sees off Dubai Honour, who's a globetrotter for the William Haggis team and has got a very good record when he travels. He was second in this last year as well, but he couldn't match the finishing speed of Goliath, who's up to just over 65 kilometres an hour at that point there, as Dubai Honour tried to come and challenge. Back in third was Straight, but everything went Goliath's way on this occasion, making all at a steady gallop and then sprinting. And this will have done his confidence the world of good. He hasn't had a great season thus far, but Goliath is back with that dominant display in the Großer Preis von Baden on Sunday afternoon. That was the Whirlpool race of the week. Well, that concludes this week's edition of The Verdict. I hope you enjoyed looking back at Kempton Park and indeed at Haydock as well. We had 2 very good time performances over the weekend. One was Giavellotto getting the better of Kalpana at Kempton. That was a tremendous performance from Giavellotto, who's a horse with loads of speed and remains unbeaten on synthetics. And the other was Big Mojo, winning the Betfair Sprint in a decent time, showing sustained speed up the stands rail. And one horse you mustn't give up on is Publish, who tasted defeat at Haydock, but he's shaped like the best horse in the race. He's got some big entries going forward, and he's not one that you should give up on at all. I'll certainly be looking out for him this autumn. Thanks for watching this week. I'll see you next time.
The Verdict with Whirlpool.